It's time for what America really needs. Faith, family, fitness, freedom. From the home of Pikes Peak, here are your hosts Jason Lupo and Aaron Lujan.
Welcome to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom on 100.7 The Word. I'm Jason Lupo here with my co-host Aaron Lujan.
Good morning, everybody.
Well, you know, we were going to talk more about like aliens, zombies, all that other stuff, but we can't not discuss the RFK situation, the Senate hearing, and what is going on in people's brains when it comes to understanding science. It's a very difficult topic for people to wrap their heads around.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Because we forget about the scientific method. People just forget that it exists.
People forget that science is a question mark, not a period.
And it starts with a question. And at the end, we ask more questions. Kind of like this show. I mean, our show is really very scientific in the way that we adopt our show. We ask a lot of questions. We try to answer a lot of questions with theory. And then we ask some more questions, which is science. And if good science exists, what it is questioning the previous science over and over and over. The problem is that we have consensus viewpoints that we have accepted for fact for years and years and years. And to test the consensus, even if you have evidence that comes out against the consensus viewpoint, whatever it is, fluoride in the water, take for example, even if you have evidence that comes out and says, hey, by the way, we probably shouldn't do this, it takes decades to convince people that they were wrong and that they need to adopt a new consensus.
Because the court of public opinion is infallible in 2025.
It's not even about 2025, and it's not even about the court of public opinion. It's about the fact that we have generations that were raised to trust what was in textbooks.
Yeah.
To trust what politicians said.
The Macmillan Mafia.
To trust what the guys in the sports coats on the news said.
Well, if you wear a fancy coat in a studio, it must be gospel truth, right?
Yeah, so maybe, we just need to put on some sports coats and get an actual studio and, just tell whatever we want to the general public.
In a fake tone like this is Aaron Lujan and Jason Lupo.
But that's the case. Like, that is what we are looking at. That's the barrel of the gun that we are staring down, is the fact that we have a population that has been convinced for so long, that has been told for so long, that the pharmaceutical industry, that the government is doing everything that is right by the people. And now we have somebody that is questioning the status quo, questioning the standards that we've gone off of, questioning this consensus viewpoint.
Yes.
And is just getting trashed.
Yeah.
And so that's the conversation for today. We're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we're going to talk about RFK and RFK Jr. and everything science. So hang with us. You're going to enjoy this show today. Don't go anywhere.
Full Armor Sports Teams has a new facility for after-school youth programs. It's located at 2380 Montebello near North Academy and Union, with 2 pools for swim lessons and swim teams, a weight room for powerlifting, conditioning, and more. Full Armor Sports Teams is a Christ-centered and family-oriented organization bringing the youth of Colorado Springs together. For more info on after-school and homeschool programs, go to fullarmorsportsteams.com or call 719-629-SWIM.
Welcome back to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom on 100.7 The Word. I'm Jason Lupo with my co-host, Aaron Lujan.
What's happening, brother?
And so, RFK Jr., 71 years old.
Amazing, and he looks great.
He looks great. I mean, listen, if somebody goes, hey, I'm going to tell you about your health, and you're a 71-year-old man that looks like you're 50, and you're still catching rattlesnakes in your driveway and, filming it, so you can deliver the rattlesnake back out to the environment. Not something I would do. Not something I recommend that anybody do. Just reach down and grab the rattlesnake. It's I'm going to relocate this.
Sure. And
did you see that video?
I did see that video. It was the best campaign video of 2024.
So, here's RFK Jr. fighting for the American people, getting trashed. And here's here's what I'm going to say when it comes to some of these individuals that have been chosen for Trump's cabinet. These are individuals that don't have the most sparkly clean backgrounds.
Like him.
That have reasons to have people that are just collecting money off the American people being very upset that they are in a position of power. And if you are RFK Jr. and you don't need this job, I mean, you don't need it.
No.
You don't have to do it.
He wants it.
In fact, it might hurt you in the future. But he cares so much about what is going on that he is willing to walk through this fire.
I believe it.
It's like I remember watching, and I was strapped in for the Kavanaugh hearings.
Yeah, me too.
Because you just watch it and you're like, this is a guy who is going to take on all of this abuse with these false allegations so that he can serve the American people.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it.
No.
These people make less money when they get into office than what they're currently making.
He arguably tainted his political legacy as a Kennedy associating with Trump and the Republican Party.
Yeah. And these are individuals that, there are some individuals, and mostly from the Democrat Party, but also from the Republican Party as well. There's plenty of them out there that do this for the money. But they go into office and then they leave 100 times wealthier than when they went into office.
Barack Obama.
And that is not the case for these individuals that are in Trump's cabinet. That's not the case for Trump.
Judge a tree by the fruit that it bears.
Like, Trump loses money when he goes in office.
His net worth went down.
Now that he's got the Trump coin and everything else that he's doing, I think his net worth is about to go back up.
Okay.
But these individuals, they care about the American public. So here's what I'm going to say. The WSJ,
Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. That's
the
right.
toilet paper record.
Yes. I'm like, for a second, I was like, what is
The toilet paper of record. Please continue.
Here's an opinion piece. This is the title of this. Elizabeth Warren exposes RFK Jr.
Pocahontas.
But we're going to find out who actually is exposed in this whole thing, because this individual's article is so atrocious. This is by the editorial board. So individuals. You just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you can make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS, Senator Elizabeth Warren said. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. Yes, a fellow friend of trial lawyers, Miss Warren knows their playbook. Mr. Kennedy's disclosures show that he has received more than $2.5 million from law firms that have sued drug and vaccine makers. He also has a financial stake in pending lawsuits against the HPV vaccine maker Merck. Mr. Kennedy trial lawyers' ties and financial interest in litigation against drug makers poses a clear conflict of interest. Miss Warren asked RFK Jr. to commit to not suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that. He refused. I love it. I can't read anymore. The Wall Street Journal now wants me to pay. At least I've already viewed this article.
They're not getting any of our money, Jason.
I'm like, yeah, no thank you.
Well, here's my issue. They always like to attack by attributing motive. And it's so unfair. That's the sleight of hand. It's like, Jason, if you went to a job interview and the first question from the job interviewer was, so Jason, if we offer you this job, promise me you're not going to steal any money from this place. Promise me you're not going to grab the butt of the secretary. Can you promise me that right now? Wouldn't you be like, excuse me, the fact that you're even asking me that question is inappropriate, because essentially what you're implying is that I had some sort of motive or capacity to be able to do that. And that's exactly what Bobby Kennedy Jr. is going through right now. He is being attacked through this sleight of hand by these manipulators attributing motive. When you actually look at the litigation that he's involved in, he's simply signing on the prosecution to hold these pharmaceutical companies accountable for their crimes and for the damage that they've done. And the fact that Elizabeth Warren is manipulating this into, well, you have some sort of financial gain. Well, of course, there's always going to be some form of financial gain if you win a lawsuit. The fact that they're asking these questions in the manner that they're asking them is just pure political mudslinging. And I think it's obvious.
I will remind you that we are not medical doctors. Nothing on this show can be taken as medical advice. We're also not financial advisors, and nothing on this show should be considered financial advice. However, the drug companies right now, I would be like hammering the put. I'd be like, these companies, the put, losing money.
Okay.
Like the stock share is going to go down.
It's called the put?
It's a put.
Okay. I thought you were dropping golf terms or something.
No. That would be a putt.
Okay, got it. Please continue.
Anyways, not financial advice, but I'd be considering it, like basically betting that the pharmaceutical industry's stock price is going to go down, which is probably what's really upsetting Elizabeth Warren. She probably owns plenty of that stock.
Well, she's probably bought by the pharmaceutical industry, as most of Washington is, right?
Yeah, so she's basically saying, hey, you need to be accountable to the American people, and what I think is accountable to the American people, says Elizabeth Warren, per se, quote unquote, not actually quote unquote, is like, hey, you just need to like play ball with the right ball, and you need to like remember that we are the referees and the pharmaceutical industry is the Kansas City Chiefs.
So true.
And play fair.
Yeah.
But don't.
Yeah.
Like, we know that the Buffalo Bills, like, the ball got across that line. They should have maintained possession.
The Kansas City Pfizers.
Yeah. The Merck.
The Kansas City Mercs?
Right now, because, whatever.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, there's nothing better for the American people than these lawsuits that have taken place.
Sure.
By RFK, because somebody needs to do it, and it hasn't been done. And we have an entire government entity that its entire job is to hold pharmaceutical companies accountable. It's called the FDA. And if they don't want to do it, then what's wrong with RFK Jr. for the American people saying, I'm going to hold you accountable if the FDA doesn't want to do their job?
And I'm hesitant to say trust politicians, but you got to trust Bobby Kennedy, because it takes some major chutzpah, some major huevos rancheros to be able to file a lawsuit against some of the most powerful corporations on the planet. And the fact that Bobby Kennedy put ink to paper on that was kind of like when the founders signed their death certificates when they signed the Declaration of Independence, because they basically put a bounty on their head when they said, we're done. And that's what Bobby Kennedy did. And that's why I'm such a Bobby fan, is because you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. And the fruit that he's bearing, like Jason, you alluded to, is that we're so much farther along in this discovery of the fact that we're being poisoned because of the fact that Bobby Kennedy had the chutzpah to actually go after these companies. The reason we're even in this position right now and having this conversation, which is a very good one, which is what are our kids eating and what is that doing to our bodies? The fact that we're having this conversation is because of the fact that Bobby Kennedy was a leader, stepped out and did the difficult things that no one was willing to do. So he's got my support 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my students all the time that there exists the impossibility of ever being unbiased. Everybody has a bias.
Have to.
And I will tell you that everybody has a bias. And so does RFK have a bias? Yeah, RFK has a bias. Does Elizabeth Warren have a bias? Yeah. And so everything that comes out of both of those mouths should be scrutinized.
Absolutely.
Right? Scrutinized and going, okay, what's your bias in this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If one person's bias is, well, I'm going to sue the crap out of pharmaceutical companies because they're destroying lives. And yes, I'm going to have some financial incentive behind it because I'm doing a job and I should get paid for it.
Yeah.
And the other one's going, well, I own stocks, so that's my bias.
Sure.
Because I have insider trading that's legal that I've done for generations.
Or my campaign has been financed by Merck and Pfizer for the last 25 years.
Yeah, through PACs and all sorts of other stuff.
Sure. She has an obligation to pay back daddy.
Yeah.
And that's what she's doing. Elizabeth Warren is doing her job. Don't assault a working woman, okay? She's working for Merck and she's working for Pfizer.
She is working for Merck and she is working, and Bayer.
She's doing her job.
Right?
She's not doing the job that she swore an oath to. She's doing the job that she did in darkness and in secret through bribery with people that are poisoning our kids and our families.
Now, what's interesting is, and I think this is a good conversation to have. So the far right conservatives are already pissed off at RFK. And they're pissed off at Trump for pushing our mRNA technology.
Correct.
Now, I think that there's a little bit of understanding of like, I can understand why you'd be pissed off. But when it comes to science, I think that there is always going to be somebody that wants to be on the cusp of the next new thing. And what mRNA technology does, for those of you guys that are confused,
I am.
is messenger RNA basically tells, it's an instruction guide when the cells are being created, what those cells are there to do. And so when you have something like a vaccine, quote unquote, because it's not actually a vaccine, when you're taking these mRNA technology shots for something like the coronavirus, what you're doing is you are pre-creating the cells to attack the coronavirus, which we've already found isn't very effective because...
Did you say pre-creating the cells?
Correct.
You mean like just creating new cells, multiplying themselves? Creating
cells for the purpose of attacking the virus.
Got it. So that because I'm the kid that eats glue in the back of the classroom. So on behalf of all of us, are you saying that the mRNA vaccine essentially injects DNA instructions to multiply itself so that those multiplicated cells will then go after the COVID virus?
Yes, but it sits there.
Okay.
So unlike traditional vaccines where basically the immune system has a memory, and so what it does is, in like super simple terms, in a traditional vaccine where you have basically a dead virus that is being injected into the human body so that the immune system basically learns how to create cells, and it's stored in the memory so that if it were to ever come in contact with that disease again, it can rapidly create those cells to attack that virus. The mRNA technology is literally telling your body to produce those cells as if the virus is in you, even if it's not.
And why is that bad, and why are far-right conservatives mad at Trump?
So we have, if we're just creating cells that are there to attack something that isn't there, and we do that over and over and over, which is basically what they're asking you to do, is with all these boosters, like make sure that your body is constantly producing these cells. So if you come into contact with COVID, it can kill it right away. Number one, it's not working. Number two, there is some potential health risks, including blood clots and death from taking these viruses or taking these vaccines, quote unquote vaccines, this mRNA technology. But that's not to say that there might not be a place for mRNA technology, but I don't think it's to replace vaccines. Right? Like, and that's a conversation that I've had, and I've gotten into plenty of arguments with conservatives, liberals, whatever, on mRNA technology. There might be a place for it, right? Cancer, other diseases. But we're talking about somebody that actually has those diseases presently, not trying to prevent the diseases. From a prevention aspect and from a prevention standpoint, trying to take away cells in the body and use them for a purpose that is not necessary does not make a whole lot of sense in God's perfect plan for our bodies, right? If that makes sense. Am I making sense to you?
You're making sense to me and explaining to me how the technology works. The part that I'm not understanding is this conversation started with far-right conservatives are mad at Trump.
So here's what happens. Okay. People don't care to truly get educated. And I know that somebody from my base is going to listen to this and be like, that's offensive. But it's true. Because most people don't understand how some of these things actually work inside your body. And if you don't care to be educated, but you want to have a really strong opinion, you should go back and look at the research and try to understand what it is.
Or refer to what Will Ferrell once famously said, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
I mean, let's put it this way. I understand the argument. I'll make the argument for you, right? mRNA technology goes too far into playing God. And I would agree with that statement, right? Like, if you want to basically completely jack up something on this earth all you do is pretend that you're God, and you will truly, utterly just screw up everything in our environment, in our bodies, whatever. If you think that you're smarter than God and God's perfect design for our bodies, then yeah, 100%. Like,
and that's true, because you look at all the money that's flowing into biotech right now. It's unprecedented. Biotech, if I'm not mistaken, is eclipsed or past the capital investment into technology.
So basically, at the end of the day, if we were to wrap this up, if I were to make this very simple, I understand why people are upset that Trump is still pushing mRNA technology and that RFK Jr. is pushing mRNA technology, because they've seen the damage done by the COVID vaccines.
Bobby's pushing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But however, the science, the research, their will to want to help the American people and to just say, hey, listen, like, we are willing to continue down this road and continue researching mRNA technology. I'm not 100% against. I don't know as though I'd ever put it in my body, because I disagree with it from other fundamental senses. But I don't think that you should be mad at Trump for being like, let's see where this technology goes, because it is kind of a cool technology when you understand how it works. But if you understand how it works, you can also understand how stupid it is to try to replace vaccines with it.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's a complicated subject, but we just have this feeling that we actually understand it, which we don't. But at the same time, the American people should be very, 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 very thankful to RFK and Donald Trump for removing fluoride from our water.
Amen.
And that's a huge component of it. And I've gotten into plenty of arguments. The best one that I've received is that you shouldn't be telling the American people what they have to do with their bodies.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Which I think is really funny, because if you are forcing Americans to consume fluoride, how does somebody have the choice not to consume fluoride? But if you are really upset that we're removing fluoride from the water, feel free to put it back in your water at your own house.
Sure. And let's also not forget that we just went through a multi-billion-dollar campaign on the government telling us to put foreign objects in our body that have not gone through any sort of trial process. That's kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this conversation on American health and RFK.
Bobby Kennedy.
Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, is now registering for school year sports programs. Full Armor is a multi-sport teaching and training organization with homeschool options available. All of Full Armor sports coaches are certified and experts in their field. Full Armor's coaches combine for over 500 years of coaching experience. They will help your kids gain fundamental skills, the concepts of teamwork, essential to being successful throughout their lives. Multiple sports options are available now, from swimming, softball and volleyball, to powerlifting and youth MMA. The faith-based approach to making sports fun and productive are a great choice for your kids at Full Armor Sports Teams. Learn more at fullarmorsportsteams.com.
Welcome back to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom on 100.7 The Word. I'm Jason Lupo with my co-host, Aaron Lujan.
Konnichiwa.
We've had a very interesting conversation on just about everything RFK, mRNA technology, the fluoride in the water. And we're here to wrap it up. And let me just preface and wrap up my stance on mRNA technology at the present moment.
Wrap it up.
I am not against researching and continuing down the track of researching mRNA technology. At the present moment, with the body of research that presently exists and what we've seen from the COVID vaccine, I am against presently using it in medicine right now.
Okay.
I don't think it's there. Do I think it has potential? Yes. Do I think that it has potential as a preventative mechanism? Absolutely not. I think it's detrimental to the body.
You want to shelf it?
Yeah, I think we shelf it. I
Sure.
think we table it. Table it for another day.
Table it.
Right? We don't need to rush this out. And that's the problem is people were so freaked out by the pandemic that they're like, we need to rush to get this solved.
I think Usher had a point when he sang that song Nice and Slow. Just go nice and slow. We don't need to rush it.
That might be the case. But Aaron, tell us your closing thoughts. Here we go.
I think they should build a cage around the Capitol building where these confirmation hearings take place, and they should just go bodies. Like, I'd love to see Bobby Kennedy square up with Ben Lujan. I mean, let's just do it like in high school. No, joking aside, I think truth will prevail. I think that to quote my New Age friends, the law of the universe bends towards truth. The arc of our story is always that the truth will prevail. Death has been defeated. Truth has won. Bobby Kennedy's up there speaking facts, and people will listen to what he has to say, and they're going to do their research. And the people that are attacking him are just losing credibility by the day.
I mean, listen, here's the end of the story, people. Science starts with a question. It ends with a theory and more questions. And what happens is when we stop questioning the science, like they wanted us to during COVID, when they kept saying, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. When we stop questioning the science and we take things for fact, we end up with some catastrophic events and some catastrophic failures and some catastrophic understandings of how this world works. And the last thing that I'd say is that we have to keep in mind our place, know your place, and our place is not to be God.
Sure.
Right? And we've done so much to try to think that we can do things better than God. And to this day, right now, we have never at all, ever been better than God at environmental issues, healthcare issues, any of that. Like, we have never been smarter, never been able to play that card, yet we keep trying. And when we keep trying, we will continue to catastrophically fail. And so we have to remember our place in this world, which is God reigns over everything, and he is the intelligent designer that designed us.
Amen.
And therefore, he knows us better than anybody else.
Preach.
Just go to your Bible. It's not that hard.
God
Go
reigns.
look at it and be like, who is in control? Who has dominion over all of the plants and the animals in the sea?
God is great.
I mean, yes, he gave us dominion over the animals, but he has dominion over us.
Praise be to God.
If you allow him to.
Christ
This
is
is
King.
Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom on 100.7 The Word. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day.
Peace.